Hey everybody, welcome to the Strive Summit podcast. With me today, I have Soheil Fathi. Soheil, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and kind of tell us where you're from and what you're doing.
Sure, thanks, Alex. I'm Soheil Fathi. I am a technical product manager at Koda right now, and here to talk about all the cool stuff for you guys today.
So, where are you located here in the world?
I live in San Francisco. Recently moved to the city, so
How's that been?
it's been much better than what I was expecting. I thought it's gonna be cold, it's crowded. I used to live in Irvine, California. It's kind of like a different vibe. Everything's clean, tidy. People go to work suited. It's kind of not what I'm dealing with here right now, but overall, so good. It's
So, San
been so
Francisco's
friendly
pretty
and fun.
chill.
Yeah, it is chill. I like
Awesome.
it.
Good, good. So, how about some latest tech and stuff that you've been using? I know you're basically like CIA, so you can't share too much. But what are some fun stuff that you've been using lately?
Yeah, so lately, it's been a while that I've been playing with laser scanners, drones, and just photogrammetry and LiDAR in general. Capture existing conditions for building owners and then help them with a whole bunch of stuff, mainly reducing the risks for their existing conditions, whether it's a renovation job, whether it's a new building. We were trying to use that sort of technology and help them with that.
Awesome. So, for our listeners out there, can you
Mhm.
explain how you use drones for photogrammetry?
Yeah, so there are some software out there. I can name a few, but I'm not sure uh, do you want me to name those or
You're
not.
good. You can go ahead.
Yeah, they're like software from Esri, or there's this software, Drone Deploy, that we use for simply managing the drone flight. So we don't typically manually fly our drones because we're just lazy and tired, and we want things to be accurate. So telling the drone that, hey, I want you to cover this area in this format with this gimbal angle, and it does it for us. And then along that path, it captures photos, and the software stitches them together and process them on their cloud, which is quite nice. So we don't use any processing power on our machines.
That's good. Yeah.
And yeah, we analyze what's the result of that photogrammetry engine processing the photos, and then a byproduct is the point cloud that again, like their platform produced, their engine produced. And not sure like how much your listeners are familiar with point clouds in
Let's
general.
talk about it.
Yeah, it's basically a cloud of points that every point that you see there has an XYZ value of both location and an RGB value of color, simply put. So this is this is going to be very useful for a construction job site. You know, like things are changing every day, every minute, every second. And at the very least, it's a very good tool for documenting the progress. And then you can also do a whole bunch of analysis on top, like how much of dirt I excavated today, or how many concrete columns I poured today, or how many square footage of concrete slab did I pour today. There are a lot of things that you can explore. It's basically your eye, your snapshot of time uh, at your job site, wherever you want.
That's awesome. So, some companies use like a drone in the box. So basically, what you're saying is, you use these programs like Drone Deploy. You set the
Hmm.
box on site. The drone goes
Yeah,
up every hour, 2 hours, 4 hours, half day, whatever. Takes the flight pattern, comes back to the box, downloads all the data, and does it again. So
yeah. You
automation.
obviously need a pilot, so yeah,
Well, yeah,
automation. Yeah,
yeah.
but
You gotta have someone there to say, "Don't hit that." Yeah.
yeah, the most frequent that I flew was like once every other day,
Wow.
and it was just a period of time that we were dealing with some situations on our side, and we wanted to capture it like frequently. So I remember I used to fly uh, pretty much once every other day. But
That's
you have to be there, yeah. And on construction sites, which is typically it's technically commercial use, you need to be
mm-hmm.
certified. So it's not like anybody can go and fly the drone in their site. You have to pass some certain examinations, simply to make sure that you know the areas that you can't fly at, the altitudes that you can't fly at, uh, things like this. So
So you have to be I think it's FAA, right?
yeah,
Certified.
FAA
Mm-hmm.
certified. Yeah,
So you're basically a pilot now.
yeah, on paper, yes.
No,
Yeah.
that's awesome. Yeah, tech out there in the construction industry is crazy. Back to the point cloud thing, you mentioned just a bunch of points with XYZ axes. You can think about it like, think about your megapixels, and every little pixel is a point, right?
Yep.
And there are these machines out there that will shoot millions and millions of points per second. So you
Exactly.
actually get like those old paintings where it's like a dot painting, and you
Hmm.
getting close, it's all painted by dots. I forget what the painter's name is, but that's
Yeah.
basically what you're doing on site, and then you get a 3D image. So
Hmm.
the points can only go so far. So yeah, your byproduct for point clouds is a 3D image that you can play with. Also, your photogrammetry can convert your photos and understand 3D metrics that way. So if you think about it, if you take like 1,000 pictures of the computer
Hmm.
in front of you, right, around all edges and sides and stuff, you basically put it in the software that you says they use their processing power, which is key, and then that way it doesn't bog down your stuff.
Yeah.
And then you basically it measures depth of field through all these images and compares them. It's photogrammetry to me is the next level of lidar, which sounds kind of crazy. Like
Hmm.
lidar is penetrating, which is great. So there's a lot of depth to lidar, but photogrammetry is way easy. Like you think
Hmm.
about it now, we even discussed. So for viewers, Soheil and I met at RCN, Reality Capture Network, this past year, and
Hmm.
basically we were talking about flying around with the 360 camera and using that as a point cloud, and seeing if that would work and coordinating with some stuff. And it's been pretty crazy. I don't know if you have the chance to test that at all, but the theory is that you can set a point with a lidar scanner, coordination point. Think of like GPS, azimuth, and then from there you can then align your picture, your photogrammetry model, to the azimuth, and then everything lines up, and then you just run around with the video all day. And I hope someone out there listens to this and does that, and then
Yeah.
gets back to me, and we figure that out, and then change the world forever. No, that's really cool. That's really cool. Have you been playing with any kind of like VR, AR lately?
Not lately. I remember it was back in time when there was a hype.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say like probably 2019 or so. I was exploring some use cases, and it stopped at the point that we figured the spatial computing power is just not there yet to use it as pure coin and as easy as we want on construction
Mm-hmm.
sites. Uh, like my site crew didn't want to carry like baggages and like heavy
Yeah.
batteries and like huge goggles on their face to just see like a plan or a drawing on site. So
Well,
that sort of stuff there, but we're still exploring and we're still looking forward for that technology to be uh, like exactly suitable for our use case. And
the
then
Apple
we're all,
Vision Pro sounds pretty exciting. That,
yeah.
and I am not an Apple guy. I'm Android
Hmm.
all the way. I don't even own an iPhone, which I would, if I got one, it'd be for Polycam to scan with, and that's the only reason I'd buy an iPhone.
Okay.
But the Apple Vision Pro looks really intelligent. The problem I have with Apple products is that it's Apple products, meaning you have to buy Apple to work with Apple. But they always
Hmm.
get the best stuff. Like Polycam and Apple, one on one. If you don't know what Polycam is, go to polycam.com, check it out. It's pretty awesome. It's point clouds, it's photogrammetry. If you got an iPhone, definitely check it out. And hopefully you're listening to this and you download it right now and you play with it and you message Soheil and be like, just check out what I did. But yeah, I have a gripe with Apple for the sheer fact that they don't work with everything. That's why I
Hmm.
like my Android. I can connect to my phone, my TVs, and everything else. And Apple does the same. And I know there's gonna be haters out there, and I'll hear it in the comments. But um, I I'm an Android person, and when Oculus or something else comes out better than that, I know the three came out, but now I feel like there needs to be one more. It needs to be one more
Yeah,
iteration, and then we'll
yeah,
probably be there to be able to implement that thoroughly.
hopefully.
So, so I want to hear about your journey. I want to hear
Hmm.
about how you went from elementary school, what got you excited about, construction and BIM, and then how you became this Secret Service agent. How
Okay.
you got to the position you're at now. And then, like, I want to hear those stories where you made those connections, and that's what really inspired you.
Hmm.
So, what's the earliest thing you can remember about like getting into the construction industry or like learning about it and wanting to do it?
Yeah. So how much time you got?
Keep going. We got all the time in the world.
I want to go way, way back. My dad is a civil engineer, a
Mm-hmm.
construction manager, and he's been in the business for a long time, maybe like 40 years now. He's still not tired. He still want to do things, which I love about him. And because of him, I remember that when I was like probably 5, 6, just barely learn how to draw or like paint. And one of the things that I would love to do was to draw buildings or like simply do floor plans, kind of like I was trying to replicate what he was doing, or
Mm-hmm.
like I didn't know at all like what are those lines on paper, or what's the difference between a bedroom and a bathroom or a kitchen or whatever. But it sort of started there for me, and then this is back in my home country, Iran.
Mm-hmm.
Buildings are built in a very different way than what we do here in the United States. The gaps is being filled every day. Like I see things that are being done better over there,
Mm-hmm.
and the methods are being adopted, and the new technology are being used, but there's obviously some limitations. I went by, I'm like in high school, and I wanna choose a major to uh, go in my undergrad and then pursue a career with. And that was civil engineering. And over there, civil engineering is a little bit different than civil engineering here. When you do civil engineering here, you're mainly dealing with the civil discipline. Over there, civil engineering is all about buildings, roads, bridges,
Mm.
like transportation systems, all of that, even soil mechanics and stuff. So it's the umbrella term for everything that you built in the built environment. Uh, I did my undergrad in civil engineering, and then through there, I was here and there thinking about construction projects, or just shadowing my dad in some of his projects. And I was learning stuff gradually, and uh, it was an interest. It was still not something that I would love to go explore and see what's happening every minute, an hour. And this is like a parallel story to this is I was always a visual learner. So I just like to look at people, look at things, look at stuff happening, and think about them and learn, and follow up with like my questions to people, to internet, to books, and basically learn that way. And that resulted in a lot of different things that I did. I created videos, I painted, I any sort of visual activity that I could do,
Mm-hmm.
I would try. And at some point in grad school, and this is in United States after I migrated for education, and I'm in a construction engineering program, then later on a design construction and planning PhD
Mm-hmm.
program. Uh, I feel like all of these interests sort of merged together in BIM for me, and it was just through a simple course. It was like an intro to BIM in grad school, just simply talking about what are the capabilities of Revit software, or what are some use cases that BIM can help with. especially in construction and design and architecture, obviously. And that for me was opening a door to a new world. And from there, I started exploring more, learn about what are the companies doing with BIM, what's the cutting edge research, academic research about that. And I just took it from there. And I'm like again, a very visual learner. I like to learn things by doing. So I decided to pursue a career in construction. That's why I joined Quantum Construction Group as a VDC engineer.
Awesome.
And yeah, I did my grad school back in Florida, UF, so go Gators. And then starting my career, I moved to Irvine to join Quark's SoCal team. And a few years in the VDC department, we spun out. We formed this new startup. We call it Koda, short for construction data, and we do a whole bunch of cool things in there. So.
No, that's awesome. I think that's great. I want to take your story back just a little bit. Okay. So I think it's important to understand to listeners and anyone else who's out there in the country or in the world, civil engineering in Iran or civil engineering anywhere, as
Mhm.
defined by wherever country you're at, does not mean civil engineering in the U.S.
Yes.
Right? And I think that is something we look over a lot. Like a lot of times, there's some outsourcing and stuff that happens, and we look at, and, oh, you have civil engineering experience. Great. Yeah, we're going to do this, this, this. And correct me if I'm wrong, and I very well might be because I do not know the education system over there.
Hmm.
When you do overall building civil engineering, is there specializations within that?
What do you mean by
Like
specialization?
like civil engineering is a overall term that's used, right? And out
Hmm.
here we have architects and engineers for specific items, mechanical
Sure.
plumbing and all that kind of stuff.
Hmm. Yeah.
So in civil engineering in Iran
Hmm.
or Iran, do you have like specializations for that?
Yes, for sure. But in academia, it's like civil engineering structures, where you learn how to design structures and how
Mm-hmm.
to analyze structures. And then you have civil engineering transportation. Well, you learn how transportation systems work in a city. You have heavy civil, which is how you deal with roads and bridges, designing them, constructing them. What are the good practices there? You have all of these different disciplines, but when you get into construction, like I feel like in back in Iran, mainly what we learn is how to design buildings and slightly how buildings are built, but not necessarily like how you manage construction or how
Mm-hmm.
you install a formwork, how you pour a concrete. Uh, we learn about them, but we don't actually do them. So it's not like a trade school.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, like when I was out of my undergrad program, I didn't know how to build a building. I knew how it's done, but if you'd given me a shovel or, you know, a total station, I probably can do limited work, but I wouldn't know how the trades would do and basically build an entire building. But to your question, yes, there are different disciplines. There are different sort of educations. There are trade schools that teach you how you can actually do things, the stuff that you learn in a civil engineering program. It's funny, like my dad studied in the same undergraduate university that I did my civil engineering, but
Mm-hmm.
before then, like I came from high school, he came from a trade school. So before he entered college, he knew how to build a building,
Yeah.
but he just wanted to like understand the other side of it. For me, it was like the other way around. So
Mm-hmm.
I knew how to design buildings, how buildings stand, basically, and then I wanted to learn how the construction is managed. That's what I pursued here in the States. And I figured, all right, it's kind of different. So,
No, I think that's really interesting. I would love for there to be like instead of here we had architecture engineering, right? And you take one
mhm,
path or the other. I wish
yes,
they called it construction.
yeah,
And in there, you do the same crossover classes, and then after halfway through, you go, okay, do you want to be engineer or architect, right? Because how many stories have you heard of someone going, "Oh, I'm going to be an engineer, I'm going to be an architect," and then they swap or do something different or don't do that at all, right?
Hmm.
It's so interesting, and I love that. That's what I feel like that idea of civil engineering was back in Iran, was
Yeah.
that, and so that's great. The next thing I want to talk about,
Hmm.
I had it in my head and I lost it just now. No,
Comes
your
again.
journey is pretty incredible.
Thanks,
I
man.
love I love the fact that your dad was an influence on you. I think that happens a lot. My dad was an influence on me. He was an HVAC mechanical contractor. I was on construction sites from like 10 up, right?
Yeah.
And you know that free labor that you can't really get anywhere else. You know, really milk that one. But it's interesting how that path kind of led me to where I'm at today. And so yeah,
Hmm.
it's definitely BIM is something you kind of fall into. Now
Yes.
that was my question, the aha moment for BIM. So you took an intro to BIM class, and in that class, you were like, okay, this is what I want to do.
Hmm.
What part of that class where you were like, holy crap, this is what I want to do?
Yeah. It's funny. Like I think about that all the time. So in my undergrad, my exposure to the BIM board was AutoCAD, like
Mm-hmm.
2D. So back then it was like, cool, now we can do everything that we do with pen and paper on a computer. Nice. It's faster, it's more clean. Let's do it. And then when I understood BIM, the fact that every line on a paper can be an entire data set of all the different information that you need to know about that line from the early initiation of the idea till constructing it and then actually using it. That was kind of like boom. So uh, I was like, this is it. This is a great opportunity simply to do whatever you want. Like if I'm dealing with a building, if I'm dealing with a bridge, this is my superpower in doing that. So
I love that. That is awesome.
yeah.
And I think what's crazy about it is we play in this 3D space all day.
Hmm.
And I think a lot of us take for granted how powerful that is and
Hmm.
stuff that we can do with it. And the fact that I say this a lot is we play construction video games all day.
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
mean, if you're listening, the conversation we just had was, "Oh, I fly drones. I did VR once, wasn't for me.
Hmm.
I do photogrammetry and lidar scanning. Oh, I play in 3D models all day." I mean, that sounds like Sims.
Yeah. Exactly.
And so it's so crazy. And then there's so many levels of, like, let's talk just Revit for instance, right? There's so many specializations within Revit as well. Like you
Exactly.
get these trade guys that come in that are electricians or plumbers or mechanical guys, sheet metal guys, and they know how it's done in the real world, like your dad was.
Yeah.
And then he goes, and then you get him behind a computer with Revit, and you're like, okay, so design this for the real world. And then next thing you know, your production is going up tenfold because you have the guy who built it designing it
Yeah.
for the guy who's building it, you know? And
Hmm.
I think that's where we're headed now. I would love to see a path to BIM, just BIM, through trades.
Hmm.
So, and if you're in a trade school and or you're in trades and you come out 4 years later, you don't want to like do trades anymore, get a job anywhere in the states. Go
Hmm.
to anyone who's a contractor, and they'll hire you on the spot. The amount of job opening jobs for just BIM in general for entry level positions, specialty positions is crazy. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Absolutely.
Coda's probably hiring right now too, right?
You never know.
I forgot that CIA stuff. I get it. No, that's cool. No,
There
that's really awesome. And so I have a question about. So you worked at Irvine, and
you go.
then Koda is a startup you are a part of, or you are starting up.
No, I was a part of. So we have this fearless leader, Brian Krause. He used to run the VDC department for Clark Construction, and he thought of this startup. He was thinking about it for some time, and then
Hmm.
in 2020, sorry, Brian, probably one, we officially announced it, and yeah, uh, some of us were from that VDC department, some of them were new hire. So right now we're like 15, 16 people. Yeah,
That's awesome.
spread all around the country.
Well, that's the way to do it now. I mean,
Yeah.
especially with remote positions, BIM, You can do anything you want as long as you got access to the internet and you're in front of a computer that can handle the
Yeah.
software, right?
Hmm.
And I think that's another thing is like this remote work that everyone's talking about. BIM is perfect for that, but also they're starting to do the hybrid stuff, right? You lose
Yeah.
that. You lose that. I'm part of a team. I'm in there. I'm talking to people. Communication. So that's
Hmm.
some things that are hard to combat. You know, Microsoft Teams and Zoom is great, but I can't walk into a room and like shoot the breeze with someone and then go sit down and do my work. You know, you got to like deliberately call the person to be like, ha, and they make a joke and then hang up and then do your work. You know, it's a
Yeah.
different mindset. I've been working from home for 4 years,
Oh wow.
3 years, yeah,
Aren't you tired
and
now?
I'm ready to go back to the office,
Yeah.
and you know, it does it can get to toll on you. I mean, are you remote or no?
I'm hybrid right now.
Okay,
So for me, it
hybrid would be
was
great.
like, yeah, full-time office, and then COVID hit. We were like remote for 6, 7 months ish,
Hmm.
and we were back to work. But we were talking about, all right, now that we passed it 6 months, we survived it, and we proved that we were actually even more productive than when we
Hmm.
were working in the office. Why don't we just keep doing it? And that sort of started this hybrid. So I try to go to the office like as much as I need to, especially for the reasons that you brought up. I
Hmm.
sometimes you just need to sit with people and
Yep.
get your job done, or instead of calling them every 5 minutes to follow up on some stuff, you're just there and you do it right there with them. It makes it much easier. And it was getting very boring for me. So just sitting at home in front of my computer, like sometimes I wouldn't even recognize, all right, this is 5 p.m. now. I would look at the hour, I was like, yeah, it's almost midnight now. I gotta start working.
Yeah.
So that fully remote thing was not for me. I like to meet people. I like to hang out with them, like
Yep.
take lunch with them. Yeah.
I think the remote 9 to 5
Hmm.
is the issue, right?
Yeah.
If I had remote and I can kind of do my own hours and work late nights or whatever, as long as I got my 40 hours in, I think it'd be a little
Hmm.
different because you know I can go do out and be with people.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's definitely some remote fatigue, and hybrid work I think is the next phase of it. Obviously, there's still a need for remote workers, like you said. You got people all around the country
Yeah.
working with you guys. So remote is a necessity. Question on would you tell people who are coming to the U.S. to finish getting their degrees and stuff? What advice would you give them coming from Iran?
Coming from Iran.
Yeah, you have that experience. What would you tell? What would you warn them about, or like give them a heads up on?
Probably no heads up because the information is out there. Like
Mm-hmm.
they know everything about everything right now. The only, and I don't want to form it in an advice format.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Uh,
fine.
the thing that I would do myself if I would go back 12 years, uh, I would just relax and think of all the things that I want to do, and forget about all the limitations and just hard think it. Like, what is it that you want? That's it. And just pursue that because you can do it here. It has some challenges. Everything that you want to do comes with some sort of challenges, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you can do it. You can achieve it. You can achieve it. So just think of what excites you the most, what gets you out of the bed every day. So yeah, just think of that.
I love that. Yeah, I think those are some powerful words because a lot of times people can, you know, get into a remote position and get
Hmm.
bored and be like, is this really what I want to do? Right?
Yeah.
Do I want to be remote forever? Do I want to do this forever? Oh, I'm a detailer at uh, a steel manufacturing plant, right? So I'm doing this detail work in CAD forever. Is that what I want to do? Right?
Hmm.
I think that's a very important question that I think a lot of people need to ask themselves, especially going into a field like BIM that is so vast. Like
Yes.
building information modeling is construction, but it's not just construction. We're talking vehicle design, automotive
Hmm.
design. We're talking engineering, power plants, stuff like that. Like nothing to do with building construction. It's the design and engineering and stuff of other things. And
Yes.
BIM, building information management, is building, like not a physical building, but building the information together.
Hmm.
Building information management, modeling, whatever you decide. I mean, that's how I define it.
Hmm.
So if you want to come out here and be an automotive designer, if you want to be an automotive designer in general, right? Think about how you want to achieve that. What software are you going to use? No, I think that's great advice. Okay, since you got
Yeah.
some words of wisdom, what would you say to people that don't know what they want to do, architecture, engineering? What would be the path you'd tell them? You know what? Why don't you try this?
Hmm. Uh, Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I know there's a lot of people who are like that. I was like that for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I think the key is to just explore. Don't stop and not do something because you don't know what to do. Just every day, spend like 2 minutes, like learn about a new thing, watch a new YouTube video, like pick up a new book, call somebody that you don't know, or like reach out to someone that you don't know on LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Probably on Facebook it would be a little bit awkward, but
LinkedIn for
people
sure.
on LinkedIn, yeah, LinkedIn for sure. But just make those connections, put yourself out there, try to experience, and it pops up to you. Like it shows you uh, all in a sudden. You're like, nice, this is what I'm gonna explore further, and then that exploring further turns into a career. You never know.
Yeah, that definitely happened to me, like
Hmm.
almost the exact case. Because I was doing modeling in Revit and stuff, and BIM was a term I knew, but I didn't know. I was like, yeah, I'm a BIM manager and all this stuff, right? Until I started getting on LinkedIn
Yeah,
and following groups and posting things and asking questions and reading this stuff. It was like my LinkedIn feed now is all this AR and LiDAR tech that's coming through, and like, you know how I don't know if you've seen the Apple Vision Pro with the was it Roken? They have the
yeah.
measuring tape, and
Hmm.
so he's over there measuring and hitting a button. It's up in his Apple Vision Pro, so he's just pulling a tape and hitting a button. He doesn't have to read his tape anymore. It's just right there and it's saved,
Yeah.
right? And like that seems such like a minor thing. It's like a little fun app you could do, but all this tech coming out is so crazy, and it all has to do with this fact that we're growing in a construction industry to bring this tech here.
Hmm.
And I had no idea. I had no idea this even existed or conferences existed. I didn't know AU was a thing till like 2020, you
Yeah.
know. And it's crazy that there's such a large community that it's so. I would say the community right now is a lot of people talking to each other within the community.
Hmm.
We don't have a lot of outreach.
Yeah.
And so I'd love to have more outreach and get people interested and see like, yeah, so you don't know if you want to do architecture engineering, take this BIM course.
Hmm.
Find out what you like. Take this design course. Don't even take a course. Go online and go on YouTube. Check it
Hmm.
out. Get on LinkedIn. I know it sounds so silly, and like I laughed at it when I was like, I'm not going to get a LinkedIn profile. I'm not a businessman. Yeah, LinkedIn is awesome for learning about tech. So definitely do that. Yeah, Soheil, I appreciate you coming on today.
Of
This has been
course, man.
amazing to meet up again. We'll
Thank you
definitely
for
have to
inviting
have
me.
you on again. And are you going to be at RCN this year, you think?
RCN, it's in October, right?
Yep.
Haven't signed up for it yet, but most probably. We'll see.
Awesome. I'll see you
Yeah,
there. We'll have a few beers together.
cool. Hopefully
All right.
sooner. Yeah, thanks, man.
Yep.